tried so hard, not so far. Hello! Hello everybody! So today we are going to be having a different video. Today I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to share my overall journey when making DifferentFight's own tabletop simulator server for Cardfight Vanguard. So if you didn't know already, DifferentFight now has his own tabletop simulator server. I'll leave all the links down in the description so you guys can access it as well. And basically, I was the one that designed the whole thing. So you can technically say that we somewhat collaborated to make it into a reality. The server is actually available to be played for like a while back from now. So today, I am going to share my side of the story, my side of the overall journey. I really just want to put this out on the channel because it is really special to me, so I want to put it out on my channel just to serve as a milestone of some sort. Also, if you are interested in making your own server of any game at all, not just for Cardfight Vanguard, maybe this video will help. Also, I waited for him to actually upload a video with him using the server so you can have a little bit of context since he already uploaded a couple of videos where he is actually using the table. Maybe it's time for me to upload my side of the story. So let's start from the very beginning. How did I ended up in this situation in the first place? So back in January, while he was streaming on Tabletop, he asked the chat if there was someone out there that can actually make him his own tabletop simulator server with his team of choosing. I was in his stream that time. Thankfully, I got interested in doing it because I am also into designing stuff. So I took the courage and asked him if what kind of design would he want. So he said that he wanted a theme of a card shop or something with the same aesthetics as the one that he has on his stream layout with Vanguard 0. So me being a digital designer as well, I immediately thought of what kind of design would it be if I were to make that table. Random ideas just pop into my head, and then eventually I thought of maybe I can possibly do this. But there was one problem. I don't have TTS. Obviously, I need Tabletop Simulator in my PC to test the table and maybe background, which we'll get to later. So at first I was like, maybe I can't do this because I don't have the game. But then I remembered my friend Yusha-sama has a Tabletop Simulator on his PC. So maybe I can work around with this a little bit. So after his stream, I asked him directly if the slot is still available for making the Tabletop Simulator server. Thankfully, there wasn't anyone that offered him such. So I asked him if, can I give it a go? And he said yes. And that's when I got the job. So to think that someone like me who's just a random viewer on his stream just ended up making him his own tabletop simulator server for just a random reason. So with that little story out of the way, let's head over to Tabletop Simulator and let me showcase you guys the finished product before we get into the details of each part of the server. Am I recording? Yes, I am recording, baby. Let's freaking go. So here we are at Tabletop Simulator, and this is the finished product of the project that I spoke of. So as you can see, it has DifferentFight's logo in the middle, and everything here that you see here is the product of all the details that he wanted to be in his table. We'll get to the details later. This is just gonna be the overview of the table. But aside from the table, there's still a very special feature about this server that made this somewhat stand out from the rest, which is the background. So after making the table design, I was thinking of making him a special background that resembles a card shop. He said that that would be amazing if it happened, so I took the time and effort to actually make one. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the finished product. And as you can see, it is in fact a card shop themed after Card Capital from the anime. This is actually a quite okay representation of Cardfight Capital. We have the red and white counter with the screen monitor, the entrance and the windows, the things here, the tables, and the thingy here, this door that actually goes to, I don't know, comfort room or the upper level. This is the one that really takes the cake about this server. It's really special, and I'm really proud of what it came to be. And I hope you guys liked it as well. Don't worry, I will explain how it ended up like this, the overall process that I went through, and maybe you can learn a thing or two as well if you want to design one yourself. I would say that it's both easy and hard to make one of this. It's easy if you actually know what you're doing before you actually do it. It's gonna be hard if you don't have any idea, which is the one that actually happened to me. Again, this is already live. You can actually access this server. I'll leave everything in the description, and you can access this server yourself if you have TTS. If not, just wait for it to go to sale. It goes to sale quite often, I believe. Again, thank you, Yusha-sama, for letting me use your account. I don't have TTS right now. I want to buy it soon. I just want to save up money for now for other things. Overdress. But I will get my hands on my own someday, I hope. So now let's first talk about the table. To do that, let's go to Photoshop and let's open the raw file of this image, and I'll explain everything there. So here we are at Photoshop, and this is gonna be the raw file of the main table. So since this is in fact the main table, I can actually move individual pieces like this Vanguard Circle, this trigger zone or order zone, this damage zone, the deck, everything. Oh, no. The rearguard circles, everything is movable because it is the raw file, and with that, I can adjust anything according to the one that is needed. Looking at the overall look of this main table, first of all, the layout of each zone, I made it so that it can be used for multiple formats, with premium, vmium, and overdress. In each format, everything's almost the same, right? Except for some zones which doesn't exist on other formats. For example, the ride deck, when it comes to overdress, I left it blank here because it doesn't exist on other formats. But when you go over to TTS, it actually has a snapping over there just for the ride deck. Also, I didn't put any labels like damage zone, trigger zone, order zone, yada yada yada, because Vanguard has different formats. So for example, this top left zone here, if I did in fact put a label here, like for example a G zone, it won't fit the overdress format because it's supposed to be the order zone. Also, in Vimeo we don't have G zone, meaning you can just place here your gift markers, for example. I also included some spaces above the main circles because sometimes there are players who likes putting the gift markers above the rearguard circle, like for example if you're playing a force deck. It's also applicable to Axel clans, so you can put your Axel markers above here, and on the table it has 3 snapping. I'll just get to it later. When it comes to the design, you would immediately notice that it is quite minimalistic because it is the type of approach that I went with. So a little about myself, I really prefer minimalistic designs when I design something. I believe that simplicity is beauty. When it comes to making it minimalistic, it adds more opportunity for me to actually make something stand out, which is what I exactly did here with the Vanguard Circle and the Guardian Circle. As you might have noticed already, the Vanguard Circle and the Guardian Circle are really special. So this is the overall look of the main table. By the way, about it being minimalistic, that was actually the part that I was afraid of doing because I don't know what Different Fight actually prefers when it comes to designs. So this is actually quite of a leap of faith. I don't know if he'll actually like this kind of approach, but I still went with it because it is my style of designing, and thankfully it actually checked out. So I want to address one of the elephants in the room here, which is the DF logo in the middle. It's really DF's logo, right? But in fact, this is not his official logo. This is actually just a replica that I made for the sake of this table. Because when I first tried out the official logo, like this one, it doesn't look that bad, but it could be better, right? So I decided to make my custom DF logo, and this is what it looks like. And surprisingly, it works really well. It's cleaner this way, it's more satisfying to look at, and I'm sorry for plagiarizing your logo. Apologies for that. Maybe I just really had to do it just for the sake of the design. Please don't hate me. Okay, so with that out of the way, next I want to talk about is the Vanguard Circle. As you noticed already, it is really quite special because it is themed after Die Kaiser. You know, Die Kaiser being Different Fight's son. You know, you can't do anything about it. It's a fact. This idea is actually thanks to Yusha-sama. He actually inspired me to actually change the color scheme of the Vanguard Circle. So when he requested to change the design, I immediately thought of Die Kaiser. So I searched Google, got his image, and just took the color palette of Die Kaiser and applied it on the circle, and it looks just like this. I'm really glad that I did that because it really looks dope. But in order to get this kind of design for the Vanguard Circle, it actually took a little bit more process than this. Let me explain how. So here is the original Vanguard Circle, right? You know, the typical Vanguard Circle that we all know. It has all the aesthetics of a Vanguard Circle that we are used to, with the circuit lines outside, the inside circuit thingies here, the kunai aesthetics, the blocky things here. It just looks cool. It really looks amazing. But as the designer, I didn't want the table to just be like slap-on stickers of different circles and then voila, here's your table. I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted to be different. No pun intended. So what I did was take a look at the original Vanguard Circle and see what I can do to improve it. No, not to improve it. To actually change it and make it unique. What I first did was remove details of the Vanguard Circle. So I tried to remove some of the details here and see what it looks like if it has less details. I want to break it down to piece by piece in order to see what I can do to make it unique, but still resemble a Vanguard Circle. So what I did was to remove the outside layer. So this is gonna be the first version of the Vanguard Circle that I attempted, which is quite okay. I removed the circuit lines outside and inside the body and just maintained every single detail left. So it looks really nice. I really like this because of the blocky things outside. It still has the circle and the kunai aesthetics stands out more, which is actually the most iconic part of the Vanguard Circle. So this was the first attempt that I made, but I still wanted to see what would happen if I remove more details. So I did such a thing, and here we are. So this is the second attempt that I went with. So here we have a Vanguard Circle that is actually exactly the same as the one that I picked. But before that, I still wanted to see what happens if I remove more details. So I did such a thing. I removed the inner circle first. Don't mind this. This is just an error right here. Apologies for that. So this is gonna be the third attempt that I used. Yeah, as you can see, it's starting to not look like a Vanguard Circle. Well, because obviously I've been removing details. Like, what do you expect? As the dumb person that I am, I still tried to remove even more details. And this is what it looks like. So it just looks like a shuriken. It literally just looks like a shuriken. It's still cool. I still dig it. And I removed the final detail, which is the inner circle, and just left with the kunai aesthetics. This was by far the most simple design that I came up with. I actually used this as one of the attempts, and I showcased it to DifferentFight. So in the end, I used the second attempt. So why did I pick this? So first of all, it's supposed to be a Vanguard Circle. So it needs to have a circle. Don't do what I did there. It needs to have a circle to actually indicate it's a circle. What a brilliant idea, right? Second, it still has the kunai aesthetics, which is the most iconic part of the Vanguard Circle. Thankfully, it had both of the requirements that I wanted, and I ended up with this one. So let me show you the different attempts that I made for DF to pick from. So this was the very first design that I came up with, and as you can see, it has less details than before. First of all, the Vanguard Circle doesn't have an actual circle. The Guardian Circle doesn't have the DF logo yet, and everything stays the same. Here's the second design, applying the blue circle behind the Vanguard. I really like the fact that the Vanguard Circle is just the rearguard circle with the kunai. Next, after this, I wanted to add a little bit more spice on the Guardian Circle, so I went with this. DF logo that I spoke of earlier, and this was actually the one that I wanted the most. It looks so clean and I really like how it turned out. But again, I still wanted to make changes on the Vanguard Circle and give DifferentFight more options to choose from when it comes to the design. So I did change up the color scheme of the circle and made it into a Daikaiser themed circle, which is really nice in my opinion. As you might have noticed already, this is the final design that I went with. This was the design with the specific details that he picked. And to be honest, I really like the fact that he chose a table with two different circles because it really indicates that each side is special. So after the main table, I need to work on the border. Before making the main design, I actually decided already that I'll put the details of the Cardshop on the border. So let me show you the different attempts that I did on making the border. So this was the design that I came up with, and this actually represents the walls of the Cardshop. Card Capital's walls actually is a scheme of white and yellow. So this is what I exactly did here with the dirty white scheme and the yellow border that stretches out across the table. I added white border on the main table, and I added a little bit of shadow behind just to apply depth. I really like working with shadows, and with this amount of shadow applied, it actually adds a lot more quality to the image. Then after picking the table, we actually tested this on TTS. VF actually wanted to see this being played on the server so that he can decide fully that this was the one that he wanted. He liked it overall, and we decided to pick this one. However, he did request for a little bit of adjustment on both sides. On the left and right side, he wanted it to be expanded for a little bit just to fit some accessories like some dice, some counters, etc. Or maybe some decks even. So I did that, and here is the actual finished table. So I removed the vertical yellow bar just to make it even and just expanded the horizontal bar and make it stand out more. So this was the one that you saw earlier, or the one that you will see when you actually access the table. So this is it. This is the table that he picked himself. Now let's move on to the crown jewel of the table, which is the background. So this is where it gets a little bit technical. When making the background, this is where I actually struggled the most because I didn't know what to do first. So I researched a lot. I searched some tutorials and something like that until I made the right decision on choosing a specific software and making the background there. So in order to make the background, I researched a ton until I stumbled upon this image. So this image looks really weird, right? But when you apply it to TTS, it will look like this. This kind of image is what you will exactly need in order to make the illusion of you being inside a room or a building or a specific place with a 3D perspective. When I saw this, I immediately thought of a couple things I can do to make it work, and unfortunately everything fell through. It didn't work out, and I was really thinking on giving it up. Thankfully I didn't, and I ended up researching more on how to make such a thing. I even thought of manually drawing onto Photoshop with this kind of format, you know, stretching out an image and just making it fit here. It somewhat works, but it doesn't look convincing. So I needed another way to do it until I stumbled upon a video on speed painting on Photoshop for a 3D video for Facebook or YouTube. So after watching that, I was thinking to myself, do I need to draw this? No, I don't. I suck at drawing. I can't draw this. But I did learn a couple of things. So to make a 360 background convincing, you need to have your image in a format called Equirectangular Projection image. This is what it looks like in a raw grid. So as you can see, it looks weird, but when you actually apply it on Photoshop and switch to 3D mode, it actually checks out. So how is this going to be able to guide me to make a 360 background? This image is actually intended to be in a 3D sphere. So let me just switch from here into a spherical panorama. Hey, here we go. So here we are at the 3D view of the image, and as you can see, we are in fact inside a box. Let me adjust the perspective. So as you can see, we are inside a box. Do you see where I'm getting here? This is the format that I need to make in order to make a convincing 360 background. And the problem is, I don't know how to do this. I don't know if I need to draw manually or use another software that can help me make this quite easy. I wanted to showcase this because in case you want to make your own background but with your own drawing, you can actually do the same thing here. I'll leave the link of the tutorial that helped me a lot when it comes to this one down the description. You can actually draw into this manually if you want to know how. Everything is in the tutorial. It is an amazing tutorial. I highly recommend it. And if ever you're gonna do something like that, feel free to do it. Best of luck to you. So knowing myself, I know I can't make such a thing. I know that I can't manually draw card capital in this sphere. So I needed another way to make the background. So I ended up giving up on that idea of me manually drawing card capital on that sphere. It's gonna be a pain in the ass. I don't have any skills when it comes to drawing. I needed another way to do it. So I kept on searching and searching until I found this video. This is a tutorial on how to capture a panorama image on Blender, which is a very popular software for 3D making, and it has all the tools that I needed. So I ended up installing Blender and making the panorama image right there. But there was one slight problem. I need to make a 3D model of Card Capital in order to produce the image. The rendering of the panorama is easy, but the hard part is making the 3D model of Card Capital. But I do want to make the server very unique, so I did ended up making a 3D model of Card Capital. Let's head over to Blender and let's see what it looks like. So, welcome to Card Capital. Well, it doesn't look like that, huh? So, let me remove the roof so that you can see everything. So, right here is Card Capital. Let me enter. Let me freaking enter. So, yeah. As you can see, this is the 3D model of the background. And let's see. Yeah. So, yeah, as you can see, there comes the weird looking AC, the tables, the chairs, and the counter, the screen, the windows, etc., etc. The thingies here, the one that you saw earlier on the background, is everything inside this cube. So I spent a whole day making this 3D model, and thankfully it works really fine. You know, outside it's plain because I don't need to design it outside, I just need the inside. Let me show you what it looks like if it has a roof. So here is Card Capital. You are now inside Card Capital. I'm actually proud of this because this is a very hard thing to do. It takes a lot of time and effort. Thankfully, I had the time to make this at the time. Wait, what? So this is actually the virtual camera that helps you get the exact perspective and image that you need to render from this room. This camera indicates where the table will be in the server. I wanted it to be here because it is the location in the anime where an intense fight actually happens. If you happen to remember some of the moments here, this is the location where the main fight table is located. It's somewhat of a very special spot. So I chose this spot. In order to make the 3D image, it's a bit technical, so I'll skip that. If you want to learn how to do it, I'll leave the tutorial in the description for you guys to see. And if you have the time to do it, you can do it yourself. Now let me show you the final rendered image to apply to TTS. So this is the final rendered image from Blender. And as you can see, it is in a format of an equirectangular projection image that works for 3D spheres in order to make it into a 360 background. So unlike the one that you will see on the server, this one doesn't have that much details. So I ended up adding some decals using Photoshop, and here's what it looks like. So here is the final image that I used for the background. So it has a little bit of decals on the back and over here just to make it more alive, if that makes sense. I didn't want it to be that plain. I still wanted to showcase that this is a card shop. So I decided to put some blank posters looking things at the back and over here. And in case DifferentFight wants me to put a specific image inside, I can actually do it quite easily. As it is, it doesn't look that impressive since it is not yet applied on TTS. So let's go back to TTS and let's see the final product once again. Go Kim! Washing, 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 shing, shing, washing, shing, shing. So here we are back again on TTS, and this is the final product once again. Personally, I am really proud of how it turned out. I am really happy of the results, and DF is happy as well. I am still the one doing the maintenance for the table, especially when it comes to the main table. About that, let me show you the post-processing that I did for this table. Let's head over to the snapping points. So as you can see, these are all the snapping that I did on this table. Each individual circle, obviously. Some on the front, like I mentioned earlier, on the Guardian Circle, on the Order Zone or the G Zone, 6 snapping on the Damage Zone, 1 on each zone for the Drop Zone and the deck, and a snapping over here as well for the right deck. If somehow there's still more snapping needed, I can immediately do it. I included some dice over here, you know, because Cardfight Vanguard also uses dice. So yeah, again, everything is in the description, all the tutorials, and even this table, you can access it. You can play on it right now if you have TTS. I'm really happy that DF is actually happy with this. It does really mean a lot to me. Just being able to actually somewhat collaborate with him is really special to me, which is why I wanted to make this video, just to make it even more public and explain everything that happened here, the story behind it, and how it turned out to be. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, by the way. If you do have some questions regarding the background or the whole server as it is, just leave it down in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. If you have more questions that you want to ask, you can hit me up on Discord. Everything is in the description. Maybe join our Discord server as well. Hope you find this enjoyable. I really did enjoy explaining a lot of stuff. Leave your thoughts down in the comments because I would like to have some critiques about this. Also, do consider liking and subscribing, and I'll see you next time.